Good morning, comrades, and welcome to another edition of the Summit, 5th edition this time. Let's start with the most important thing, although I don't think you find it important because we announced, I believe, in the Summit too that we're going to do a couple of giveaways.
Yeah, exactly.
And we forgot it the last time, so this time we're going to compensate. We have 5 giveaway items, and like we said, the purpose of this giveaway is to, well, encourage some of you to comment and also to reward most of you who have been commenting so far on almost every video. So we have 5 items here. I have written down 5 names of people that I saw, well, most frequently. There are a lot more of you, but this is something for next time. So let's start with the first item. Would you grab one
let's
item?
Go for it.
So
this is our one-off Apex hat.
Yeah.
This is a prototype that we had made just as we were designing different hats, and this hat I think cost us somewhere around €100.
Yeah.
And you know, but we decided not to go with this style, not for any reason other than I just wanted something a little bit simpler. You know, when Misha and I were designing it, we said we wanted the Apex logo down here. And I think this is actually a really cool hat by today's standards, what the people are after. And here I am, I don't even wear hats. And I was like, no, I think we'll go a little bit more. But this is actually a really high quality hat. It's got the A with the Apex dot, and it's all stitched with the foam backing. And then on the side, it has the Apex name on it. And yeah, it's a nice snapback. It's a pretty cool hat. So I guess Misha can tell us who gets this hat from his list?
Yeah, the first name on my list is RDS Alfart. So thank you for commenting all the time. I also see you pretty active on Speed Hunter thread, or there is someone with the same name and profile picture. So I think a hat would suit you.
Yeah.
At least I hope so.
Yeah, so shoot us a message, get us your address, and we'll get
Yeah, shoot me an email. You can find it in the video description. Now the second one, let me grab something without looking. Ooh, it's something fluffy and plushy. Oh, this is another one of the prototypes.
Yeah, this is another prototype winter hat that we had. We were going through different ideas of what we wanted, and this was one of the ones that we sampled, and we haven't ruled out actually making them yet, but now we know what it looks like. We've got pictures of it, and we can go ahead and give that one away.
Yeah, this one goes to Mormiello. I hope I spell your name right, but you can find it also on this video. I will just print screen your name. So, will you grab an item?
Yeah, I'll grab this one because this is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, this is something we had made for you, but you never used it because.
Yeah. I think this was a gift, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made it. Is kind of our print company made this along with the shirts that we were getting. I believe is how it went, and you know I don't really wear an apron too much, but this is actually kind of cool. So if someone wants a little apron for the workshop or grilling or something like that, I think that's actually a pretty cool option.
Yeah, this one goes to Bernie Laurent. Or, well, I hope I spell your name right if you have it in French or in English way. So, hello, we're being joined by Tom Stamp. He's sneaking in suddenly, so if you hear something, it's just him sneaking in.
Maybe you'll see his thumbnail picture that he's about to take in a little bit, right?
Yeah, because some people said that they actually not really read the titles, they look at the thumbnail, and then when they see a picture of a car, they're like, oh, okay, track video, not interested. Yeah. And when they see a picture of us sitting here, then, well, they're most likely to click on it. Now, the next item.
Here you go, it's you.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he's wearing all blue, so.
Yeah, it's me. It's blue. So this one goes to Eric Ortiz, and I hope you're not living in a warm country. Well, I mean, I really hope for you that you enjoy the weather, but I mean, then this will be pretty useless. And if it is, I'm pretty sure we can otherwise swap it for a hat.
I think if you live somewhere that doesn't need beanies, then let us know.
Let us know. We'll shoot you a hat over. The same goes for the previous beanie, but and then we'll use these items for the next week's giveaway. And finally, it's the Nürburgring calendar. We're not gonna unwrap it because you want to. Well, we can do it, I guess.
We can open it up. Why not? Right? That's no big deal.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, official 2018 calendar. We're already almost in February. Maybe this video will be released in February, so we don't know. But I hope you're gonna enjoy it. And your name is Hamza Shirazi. And I think, well, yeah, this covers pretty much it. I also had a name of Martin Chapman on it, who comments on every video, good video. But if next time you're gonna comment something else, you're gonna win something as well. So yeah, that's so far the giveaway. Another reminder for you guys is that we have launched Spotify and iTunes podcasts, because on a couple of previous videos, people still commented, it would be cool if you make like iTunes and Spotify, but we announced it in the previous video. So for people who've missed the previous summit, make sure to check out video description, and you can watch the well, you can listen to Summit on your preferred platform.
I think that's pretty nice because I can tell you that after the first Summit came out, I was walking somewhere, I don't remember where it was, I was walking from the office maybe to get something to eat, and I had it playing on YouTube, and I had my headphone on, and I went to put it in my pocket. Every time I put it in my pocket, it would hit something and shut off, and I thought, yeah, you know, these guys are right. If this was a podcast, it'd be much easier to listen to. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you can also listen it during other environments, like for example, when you drive.
Or if you're in a meeting.
Or if you're, yeah, or if you're in a meeting, like, okay, our targets for this year is, build a track car. No, that's not it. Okay, move on to our next topic. A recurring topic is the drink of this week.
Today, I think this is actually the second time we've done a margarita.
Because the first time we
did the blue margarita with the blue
we
carousel.
wanted to call our show actually Motos and Margaritas at some point. Someone suggested that, but
yeah, exactly. So what we have here is just really a classic margarita. But the only thing that I did differently than a traditional classic margarita is I went with a reposado tequila. So it's a little bit. If you go with the silver tequila, that's more traditional, and I think you get more of the blue agave taste. And then this is more of a smoother taste, I guess, really. And it comes down to what you like. But this, let's go on in milliliters, right? What do you think? So this has 150 milliliters of tequila, and then it has 100 milliliters of Cointreau, and then another 75 of fresh lime juice. Yeah. And basically mix it together, put some salt in it. You can either put salt on the rim, or you can actually just sprinkle a little bit of salt directly into the drink, and it gives you that taste without having to have the salt on the rim.
Yeah, I'm mostly happy that it's not as strong as last week's drink, because like 1/3 or 1/4 of the drink last week, I was already like, okay, yeah, suspension. Yep. Yeah, it's the next month.
That's the only way we got them to an hour, though.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of which, not sure if we're gonna make it this time an hour, but we'll see, because again, question to you guys, important request, you need to tell us what you want to hear. It's obviously amazing when you comment and say how you like this week's video, but please come up with the topics for next one. And last time there were actually pretty zero to close to none any topics, but we said.
I can tell you though, he says we might not get there, but we're already 8 minutes in.
That's true, and the introduction only, so we'll see. And we're gonna have today actually a pretty big topic like we had last time regarding the track preparation. We're gonna discuss our first cars, so my first car, your first car, and then since you purchased the new E36 and we kind of already announced that your initial goal was to have like all the generations M3s. By now we already, for people who are following our social media posts, if you're not, make sure to subscribe to Apex Facebook and Instagram, because that's where the latest news are being published, and you will know what's happening. In this case, you announced that you're going to buy I actually purchased pretty much all of the Schirmer GTs. That means BMW M3s manufactured by Team Schirmer. But this is something we're going to get into detail later. So let's start with our first cars. And after that, we tell more about the cars that we're going to purchase, you and me, in the future. Would you care to start telling us more about your first ever McLaren? Or was it less exciting than that?
No, I'd be happy to. In fact, my first car, I don't remember exactly where I was exactly when I got my license, but I got my driver's license right when I turned 16 or about within the month before. And my first vehicle was a 1989 Chevy Silverado, baby blue.
Wow.
Yeah, it was badass.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a single cab, bench seat. You know, and in all my wisdom, I made sure to put 3 12-inch subwoofers in it, and you know, I had a nice CD deck that I could take the face off. It was pretty cool, but it was something that my grandfather gave me, and I was working for him. And in fact, I started working for him when I was around 15, and he had a tool and die shop, and I was learning how to do the machines and run the CNCs and program the CNCs, and that was my first vehicle. And nothing fast, nothing glamorous, but man, did we have fun in that thing. You know, at the time we were in Indiana, and Indiana was one of those places at the time that you could just be a kid and have fun. And you know, 4-wheel drive pickup truck is your first car. You found it. You know, you found the trouble. You found fun. So we really had a good time with that thing. And yeah, I look back at that, and there's times that I wish I still had it just because it was a fun truck.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find a picture of one, and you can throw it up there.
Yeah, that sounds cool. So not really a track car. What led you actually to getting into track?
I mean, my whole life growing up, my father was into racing boats and always was into different cars and everything like that. So I had that influence from a young age. Mm-hmm. So we were always at the boat races. My dad had, absolutely amazing boats and race boats and everything like that. And so it ended up just being that was something that I grew up with. That was something I was around all the time. And then I'm quite a bit older than one of my younger brothers, Trevor. And as he was growing up, he started at the age of 7 racing junior dragsters.
Okay.
And so I was his crew chief, and so we were doing all the tuning of the motors and building the cars and putting them together. And that was also for me a lot of fun. But I already had the bug before then, but that was something that we were doing. And yeah, so that was another really neat thing. We went all over the country doing that, and in the U.S. and racing those cars, and that was a pretty good time. But yeah, so I think, like I said, it's been in my family. In fact, McLaren did an interview of us last year.
Yeah, for the magazine.
Yeah, for the magazine. They have like a project magazine that they do, and I actually was able to get from my grandmother. I was able to get pictures of her father back in the salt flats in the U.S. when he would race in the back in the 30s. They would race back in the salt flats, and so I was able to get pictures of that and put them in. So that was, so I think it's been in our family all along. That's
very cool.
Doesn't the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah. Nice. What was your first supercar?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say supercar, I guess it would be the Audi R8.
Okay.
I had before then countless Corvettes and things like that, but the first getting more into the supercar was the Audi R8 V10 that I had.
The manual.
Yeah, manual. It was a great car. It was I just sold it last year. It was a great car. It was a lot of fun. In fact, I picked that car up in direction Cologne at a dealer. I bought it from them and drove it on the way home. Conveniently, the Nürburgring is on the way home, and literally from the dealer to the Nürburgring, did some laps and went home. So that was my first
first Nürburgring.
That was first Nürburgring laps.
Which year was that?
Car. I guess it would have been 2013.
Okay, so not so long ago.
Not so long ago. 5 years now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, well, we're going a bit off topic here, but what was your first lap like? Were you like, oh shit, I want to move in here, live here, and start Apex?
Yeah. No, I mean it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was funny because it was pouring down rain, and and still.
Were you like one of those people like, I have Quattro, I got this?
No, I just was out having a good time. It wasn't, for a first lap, it wasn't particularly a slow lap, but it wasn't out of control or anything like that. But it was definitely wet, and I think I've always understood the fact that all-wheel drive just makes you hit the wall faster.
Sideways.
But so no, it wasn't a crazy lap. It wasn't out of control, but it was definitely fun. It was neat. It was really enjoyable, and it was not necessarily planned, but it just worked out that halfway home I said, oh, let's go to the Nürburgring and let's do that. And so that was the first lap, and in that car, and first I guess direction supercar, I would say. Yeah.
That was back in 2013, but I believe like your first like big year around Nürburgring was 2016, or was it?
Yeah, I'd say about 15 probably. End of 15, middle of 15, and before then I would just come, occasionally and have a little bit of fun. And then end of 15, and then really into 16, we were here, all the time, and really having a good time with it. So
yeah, pretty cool. I'm happy how it worked out. Happy that the ring bug bit you. Now going back to your first car, what was your most remarkable moment of that, if you can remember one?
Like I said, we were young and dumb, and we'd always have a good time. And like I said, in Indiana, you could have a good time, and it was.
Like we can have here at Nürburg. A
little bit different, yeah. But yeah, you could do it. Yeah, similar concept. But I mean, we would do all kinds of stuff in it. We would go out and, at night. We'd find railroad tracks and we'd jump the railroad tracks in it. You know what I mean? Because they'd have big, sweeping humps to get up to it, and you'd get all four wheels off the ground. And it was just stupid stuff that you couldn't really don't do it. You can't advise it, but that's the stuff. That's the stuff that we would do. I mean, Dukes of Hazzard style. We'd see how much air we could get under it, and.
Was the stock suspension okay with that?
It handled it. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
It handled it, and but like I said, it was. I'd say that the most memorable things that we did, I probably can't talk about.
Maybe one day. Awesome. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, good. It was really, like I said, it's one of those cars that when you look back, there's nothing valuable about it.
Yeah,
it's just it was just a good car to have. For memory's sake, I'd love to still have it around.
Yeah. So this was your first car?
That was my first car, yeah.
But did you do any driving before?
Well, I did, but it was just in parents' cars and just odds and ends like that. It was nothing, nothing remarkable or nothing memorable. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just a SUV that my stepfather had. I, did my driver's permit in that and everything. But yeah, like I said, nothing to really comment on. How about you?
My first car. Let me start with the first car I ever drove myself. I was 5 back then, so I didn't really technically drive it. I was sitting on my uncle's lap. It was back in the 90s, and he had the very first BMW E34 M5.
Okay.
As a kid, I didn't know anything about that, but I think it's still...
Well, now it's kind of cool.
It's a kind of cool, remarkable that now we are into BMWs,
right, exactly.
so it kind of car started. After that, drove a couple of Ladas that my father used to, and I think it's also the reason why I got into cars, because although I usually like to refer to the fact that when I was again 5, and like the Soviet Union fell apart, so like all the things from the West became more available in Russia. So and my mom used to work in a foreign country, and so she had a lot of colleagues from France, and her colleague gave me a Lego set of a gas station. And back in the 90s, again, in Russia, there was like a huge oil crisis. So like people would line up for the gas stations to get fuel. And I was playing with my toy cars, like simulating that they were like in a traffic jam to get fuel from my Lego gas station. I think that kind of like started doing things. And again, since ownership of a Lada involves maintaining it constantly, and also like even when it's not broken, to prevent that it will be broken tomorrow.
He's been trying to tell me to get a Lada for the track because it'll be the most reliable thing ever.
The new models are. I mean, the Lada is now part of Nissan Group, I believe, so they're pretty okay. But yeah, apart from that, I was spending lots of hours with my dad in the garage and fixing things. I had no idea what we were doing because I was like 5, and like, okay, well, engine starts, lights work, and that's pretty cool, I guess. Felt totally badass when we one day hit 160 with a Lada. I believe we didn't even do it on the Nürburgring because we needed like probably 10 kilometer stretch downhill with that. That was cool. But no, yeah. After that, I did again some driving with his cars when I was 9. That went pretty okay through the village. And then for some reason when I was 15, I tried it again, but I totally sucked at it. I couldn't like get the car going. I was like always like let it stall or something. But afterwards it was all fine. So it's kind of a strange thing. But my first car, it came pretty late in comparison to you, because again, in the US you can get your license with 16. In Holland, where I was living back at the time, it was 18. Nowadays you can get it with 16 and a half or 17, I think. I think you can start doing your lessons when 16 and a half and get it eventually with 17 or something. But anyway, I actually had my motorcycle license. No, I had motorcycle license after my driving license, my car license, but I had a motorcycle before I got my first car. And back at the time, I was working with Ine from Blackfish Graphics, girl you may know by now. And one of our co-employees had a Subaru Impreza that he wanted to sell. And at the time, I was, I believe, 20. And I gathered some money already by the time. I thought, okay, well, let's do something with it. I mean, you're young and stupid. And he was
Subaru.
Yeah, he was selling Subaru, and since all the 90s kit, it was a GC8, so the very first Impreza that, Colin McRae made immortal, and himself with it as well, kind of. So it was one of the childhood dreams. It was never my intention to buy such a car, but it was just like, I don't know, something snapped and like, let's do it. And also the first upgrade I did to it is I bought it with almost gone brake pads.
What color was it?
It was very dark blue.
Dark blue.
It was very dark blue. I'll put a picture in it. I bought it actually because he did the mod ball rally. By now it's one of the world famous rallies. You have the gumball, you have the mod ball.
Now is this the car that you saw at a meet last year?
Yes.
Okay.
No, actually no.
That was later on.
Yeah,
okay.
that was later on. I'll get back to you because those stories are intertwined. So I got it from him just coming back from mod ball rally, covered completely with stickers. And I remember I spent almost 2 or 3 days at car washes peeling those stickers off, and like my nails were completely ruined, but I had a clean car. But also, like we had, for example, on the black Sherman car, when we took off the rear stickers, it damaged for some reason the paint. Yeah. That was the same. It happened the same. So I bought some like car carrying products without knowing what I was doing. So I polished the hood, and it was pretty okay, but still, I was never into car detailing. So if back day I knew Nanolex, it would have been a lot easier if I would just
a lot easier, huh?
give the car to them, like, Pete, go for it. But yeah, that was not an option. So I bought the car. It was through its brake pads by then, and well, what are you gonna do if you run out of brake pads? You put big brake kit on it instead of putting new brake pads.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
I knew back at the time when I was working with back then it was called Sticker Dump. Nowadays it's Blackfish Graphics. We were dealing with a racing team called Charoudin, which is now called JT Performance. So we're doing a lot of work with them. So I called him because it was fairly close by to my house. Made an appointment to get big brake kit and also the suspension as well. It was K-Sport. He's a K-Sport dealer and distributor, but nowadays I'm like, why I was doing that? It's okay on that level car, but after I built it to be 700 horsepower car and putting 1,000 euro suspension in it, I'm like, why? The car was uncontrollable, but yeah, you learn a couple of things. But anyway, we put the brake suspension, and while he was installing that on the car, I was sitting in his race cars. I'm like, oh, that seat feels nice. Let's order that. Oh, the steering wheel feels nice. Let's order that. Oh man, that dashboard, the Dash 2 from Race Pro or something. I forgot the name exactly. Looks nice. Let's have that as well. And actually, also 2 weeks after I bought my car, I applied for a race car driving license to learn how to drive it on competitive level on the track. And I remember like the second corner I went in the gravel because it was pouring down rain the whole day. And I thought, oh, Subaru all-wheel drive. So I'm actually opposed to you. I didn't hold myself in, and I think nowadays I still sometimes don't.
I have a picture of my 570 going through the gravel.
Yep. Yeah, so there was that, but it's funny that my race car instructor is nowadays organizing Supercar Sunday in Holland, the event that I've been going 2015, 16. We missed it last year, but I actually want to go there this year because we missed it last year, and it's always an amazing event. A lot of super and hyper cars that come there. It's just like remarkable. But so it's cool that we kind of throughout the years almost. So we started in 2011. We're now in 18, 7 years by now. We're still maintaining the relationship, and it went from like someone who taught me something to do something that we worked together. But back to the Subaru, yeah. Well, the brakes and like you did with your car was also the stereo upgrade.
Yep.
A huge subwoofer. I also remember when we were doing the race car license and we had some free driving. I just like turned up the stereo. Like going through and people like walking past all the serious race car drivers and instructors, they're like, they're like, what? I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? It was fun being young and stupid.
I can see it.
Yeah. So eventually, and this is a story that I told you earlier in the previous vlogs, just briefly, shortly, and I'll probably go more into detail on that, or maybe we just do the whole story today. I had a childhood dream, probably, I don't know. Well, it's just like one of the things that you're young, like, okay, 500 horsepower mark, let's reach it.
Let's do that, yeah.
Because 1,000 horsepower involves extra zeros behind the final sum, so I could do 500. So I called again Jeroen, the guy from Jeroen Tuning or GT Performance, and I said, listen, I want to have 500 horsepower engine. But when a guy who's 20 years old with a cap and a Subaru comes in and says, he probably gets it every day, and he's like, yeah, okay, cool story. I'll do something for you. And then I didn't get any reply for almost, I don't know, like a couple of weeks or a month. So I went to another tuner company and I called him, like, listen, I want to have that. He invited me, coffee, take a seat. We put everything in paper. I put a deposit down and we started working on it. A month after that, I get a call from Jeroen and he's saying like, yeah, I found like a clutch for you that you wanted. I'm like, dude, I already spec'd a complete engine and gearbox. I'm like, you're kind of late. Like, oh, okay. And then I posted pictures on it on Facebook and it was like complete WRC engine for 22B. And he was like, did you really buy that? What? How? Like, yeah, well, I asked you. I mean, it could have been you who could sell it to me. I mean, if you don't take me serious, then that's what you're going to miss. Now, eventually, fast forward, we built the car. Actually, Jeroen still participated in the build, but he was doing more the chassis work, cutting out everything what we didn't need, whereas the EMS, the renowned tuner in Holland of Subaru, was building the engine and the gearbox. And one day, I had an offer because we had this four-door Subaru. We need to put a cage in, And we all know by now that putting a bolt-on cage is fine, but when you have to weld the cage, you need to disassemble everything. You need to take out the windows, and it's a whole process, and it costs you roughly a basic cage that will not go to the front struts. Costs you slightly above 2,000 euros, close to 3,000 something basic if you don't use like lightweight materials or anything fancy. And then someday on the forum, someone was selling a project because, yeah, well, they either didn't have time or money to finish it, and it was a 22B chassis, or actually a coupe chassis, which are pretty rare in Europe. So it's a coupe body type, so 2-door, and he had a 22B wide body kit for it, and it had already caged, FIA certified cage in it, and it was selling it for, I believe, for 2,500 euros, and for 250 euros extra, he would give a donor car, which was like half disassembled another Impreza, which we could use for some bits to convert everything. I, by the way, blew up my gearbox, the 5-speed gearbox, during the racing course after I passed the exam, so that was good. They said you can do free driving, so I was out of gearbox, so the car was standing still, and I had a Volvo S70 as a daily driver back then. But anyway, so that's obviously, when you do the math, if you have to spend 3,000 euros on your body, or just buy a second one and start from scratch, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. So that's what we did, and one day I come home to my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend back at the time, and how was your day? I said, well, I bought 2 cars. And that was it. She said, get the hell out, you love cars more than me. Wow. And I'm like, okay, well, let's stand still for a moment. The fact that one of my daily cars, the S70, I bought because the suspension fell out because it was assembly fault by a company that I'm not going to, or it was a material fault, it was a white line suspension, so my trailing arm just fell off and I couldn't drive, and in 2 days I booked for a birthday trip to Belgium, to a hotel, and I didn't have any transport, so what do? You can go with the train, or you can just buy another car. So I bought a Volvo S70, so I'm like, okay, well, if I love cars more than you, then fine. So packed my stuff, went to my place, called my tuner, like, so remember the 500 horsepower request? I got new funds, let's make it 700 horsepower. And that's how we built the 705 horsepower engine. I'm not gonna go into details regarding all the parts. I'll probably make a separate vlog regarding that, a separate video, what we did, what were the components, and what's necessary to do that. But it was pretty fun. It's also funny, obviously, when you're at such a relatively young age, 20 years old, and you have something fast and fancy. Even nowadays still, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of rumors about us, what we actually do for a living. Yeah, possibly. Possibly Russian mafia and, I don't know,
That'd be fun, I think.
capitalism and everything, you know. So back in the days, I know, one day, it's a funny story, it's one of the remarkable stories of my car build. It's when I went to pick up a radiator. It was a lateral performance radiator and intercooler combo. One of the very best components you can buy, like a price brand new is 2,200 pounds, and I could get it, I believe, for like 1,500 euros. It was offered for sale, and I offered the guy on the forum 1,300. And I say, dude, I would usually say go to yourself, but since my wife is Russian, you're Russian, come by for a drink. I'm like, okay, cool. That's funny. Yeah, sounds nice. So I went there at 5. I picked up the intercooler. And then he asked, like, you want to come in for a tea? I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And then after that, I left at like 2 or 3 at midnight, at night. So that's how long we stayed. And he told me like a very fun story because by then he got to know me. And he said, dude, I was like a couple of weeks ago at a Subaru meeting. And it was obviously, I was building the fastest Subaru back in the time in Holland. It was one of the fastest in the world. And one guy was saying, yeah, I know Misha. And his dad is a criminal, and he's doing time here in Holland, and now Misha's taking care of his business. That's how he gets all the money. Like, that would be awesome if I would have that much contact with my dad, let alone if I would have all the money to do it. But unfortunately, I had to work. It would be
more exciting, huh?
It would be more exciting, but unfortunately, I had to, like nowadays, still sometimes do 20-hour shifts, because back in the day, I had 2 or 3 different jobs at the same time. And by now, luckily, I can have only one job if you don't count YouTube.
It's just there's one job that takes 20 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So, but still, that's how it gets you, how you can get things. So don't ask me, just work for it hard and you're gonna get it. But yeah, that was a funny story that people always like to talk shit. And this is one of the remarkable things regarding the build. But yeah, eventually we finished the car in 2000. 12 in summer. Yeah, we did some shakedowns. It was very good. In 2012, in September, I moved to Russia for exchange internship with the Moscow State University. So I moved in September, and the week after I flew back for my first ever race with the Dutch Time Attack. And the Time Attack, for people who watched our Time Attack vlogs from this year, know that Dutch Time Attack has a pretty special way of doing the finals. So if you made it into finals, you have one lap of warm-up, then your second lap is the actual lap that counts, and after that is cooldown lap. So that means you don't get any second or third chance. If you mess up on the second lap, you're done. I was very nervous, obviously, driving my first ever car that first 700 horsepower car, 705 to be precise, and 862 Newton meters. First time in competition, and during the warm-up lap, I just panicked and I went to the gravel again, just straight. Just like, not even like on the turn or something, it's just like, I don't know, on the brake. And then I was very nervous on the second lap, so I like really over-braked that part. But I still managed to do, I think, 2 minutes flat, I think even 1:59 with it. Whereas and that got me second place in my first ever competition. So if I wouldn't overbraked it because I was overcautious not to do the same thing, maybe I would have been the first place ever, and that kind of got me. It was very fun. Another remarkable thing is actually I flew back to Russia, did 5 days of studying, and then I flew back again to Holland because there was another event that I booked that I actually we did a similar thing at spring event when we were taking out the unfortunate kids with us with the McLarens, and that's something I did as well with the Subaru, and it was very fun that there was a Bugatti EB 110, there was a Mercedes SLR, there was Carrera GT, and all the Ferraris obviously that need no introduction for the kids. But when I arrived with the Subaru with a huge spoiler and a lot of sound, all the kids were like, I want to go in that car, that's so awesome. And all the supercar owners were like, yeah. It was a fun. It was, and I think this is the most rewarding thing, is to share actually our passion with cars.
Without a doubt.
I think this is something we will probably try to do again this year with spring event, because we've been already approached by the organization if we want to do again the similar type of thing to offer kids who are less fortunate to smile for a day. And I think this is the best thing that you can possibly do. And again, this is also what we offer to many people here at the Nürburgring to fulfill their dreams eventually. But yeah, this is a long story short regarding, I think, my first car. Not sure how short it was, but yeah, there's that. So I guess we can maybe move now to our future cars.
Yeah, I think actually if you went back, and it's funny how everything evolves. If you go back to our last day, we did like 5 laps in the Speciale, just chatting the whole way, and we spoke about what was going to evolve with our cars, and one of them was, we're going to get a Senna. Nope, not getting a Senna. You know, there's all these different things, and it's constantly evolving. Yep. And I think that Tiffany, my wife, has probably learned that you don't plan on anything until it's like sitting in the driveway, you know, because it's always a changing program. And you know, Misha's been talking about the i30N from, I think we started talking about that late last year, middle of last year, and that's something that we're still talking about. He can go into more detail about that. And then we've been talking about an M3 collection and wanting to have an E30, an E36, E46, an E92, which we have now. Obviously, we bought last year. And then
you had the E90, which is standing here out of the shot.
Yeah, poor bastard child, huh? And then obviously an M4 solution. That was very important to add to the collection as well.
Although you kind of have the M4 of the Apex fleet.
Yeah, you're right. We have the M4 in the rental fleet, and that's, but it's a rental car still, you know. And I want this M3 collection to be really, at the end of the day, my cars. They won't go out for rental cars ever. They will get passenger laps, so people can do taxi laps on track days in each of the cars. And because I think, just like you mentioned a minute ago, we want to share the cars with people. The last thing I want to have is, you know, 5 really cool cars sitting in a garage that nobody sees, doesn't see the light of day. I literally will drive them from Apex onto the racetrack and back to Apex. That's what my goal is. If you have 5 cars there, my goal is to have maybe 50 to 80 laps per car per year. I really hope it's more towards 80 laps per year per car. And that puts me somewhere in the 250 to 400 range, you know, with that set of cars. And I think that's a pretty good goal for those cars. And then obviously I'll still have maybe the LT or whatever, the 720 LT or whatever the future cars in that regard are. We have already a contract on the 488 Speciale, GTO, VS, whatever you want to call it. That's something we have a contract on, but I don't expect that would be here until probably spring of next year. So I might have to slum it through the year with just the supercars that we have now, you know.
First world problems. Or all the M3s.
Yeah, or all the M3s. And that's something really interesting. So when you look at the black car that's right about here, that car is really a special car. It's a Schirmer GT. It's one of the first E92 GTs that Schirmer built. They were doing it in parallel with another model. One was originally from Andy, and then the other one was done by Klaus directly, and they were basically going back and forth and buying parts, and oh, he got that, I want that. He got that, I want that. And you know, they were really doing the cars really well. You know, this car has the complete Schirmer suspension, the kinematics, the geometry adjustments. It's got the 4.4 stroker motor in it, the full cage, which is tubed. The car is actually a Schirmer GT. If you look at the manufacturer now, they actually go as far as to changing the manufacturer of the car. So it has the roll cage, which is approved and has TÜV, so you can drive it on the street 100% legally. Every single part on that car is in the paperwork of the car, even all the way down to the 100-liter fuel cell, which is also a very big thing when you're running a 21-kilometer racetrack and you have a 60 or 70-liter fuel cell in a car like that. You're constantly 4 laps gas station, 4 laps gas station.
How many laps can you do now?
I think it's about 7. It's about 7 laps that the car will do, maybe 8, but 7 or 8 laps, and that's pretty darn good.
That's good.
You know, you don't need to do 8 laps in a row. You know, at that point you need a break if you're not in a race, right? Yeah. And even in a lot of the racing, 8 laps, 9 laps is about where you get off and come in for you know, driver swap or obviously fuel. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that really that car set the bar. You know, if you want to talk about M3s, and so, but it also gave me a bug and made me really want to have more M3s. And then Tim came around and he had his E36. It wasn't an M3, but it looked like one. You know, he had a 328 and
it had the M3 engine.
Put the big wing on it.
It was 323 actually, I think.
Oh, was it 323?
It's 323. Yeah. Then he swapped it to 328 engine in the first, and after that.
And then he went to the S54 motor. Yeah. But regardless, he had that around, and I really caught an eye for it. And I said, man, this thing's actually pretty cool. And so that really intrigued me. And then one night I was talking to Marcus, our neighbor, and he said, man, you know, I just love the E30. And the E30 had always caught my eye, and just he mentioned it to me. I just went on the next day or so, and I pulled up some videos of E30s, and I was like, man, that's a cool car. That is a really cool car. The history behind it, you know, like I said, I'd known the car, I'd looked at the cars, but I never thought, oh, I need to have one of those, you know. But then I got caught in a couple of videos of it. Then I saw a couple, you know, around here at the Nürburgring, a couple at the gas station at ED, and I went in and looked at them and listened to them drive away and said, okay, now I want one of those too, you know. And then the E46, you look at that, it's a beautiful car. Yeah. I think it's a really, really pretty car. And so same thing, and then you have the motor, which was in Tim's car from that car, and the sound of it, everything is just a really neat package. And so then I kind of wanted that, and I said, well, gosh, if I'm looking at all of these different cars, why don't I just say a goal would be to have that whole collection, or every generation, if you would. And you obviously have that tricky part that BMW decided that they had a really good idea, and if it has 2 doors, they're going to call it a 4, and if it has 4 doors, they're going to call it a 3, right? And so now the M4 is, in my opinion, still an M3. It follows the same genre, if you would, or the same lineage, and it is that car. And so I justified in my mind, well, you know, we have the Renault M4, that'll suffice. That'll be my M4, you know, and so I was going to be happy with that. But as things are, I last fall started talking with Alex Hart. He's the one who previously owned this car, and this car really started the whole 2017 battle of the E36s, if you would. And he was going back with another guy named Tim, not our Tim, but another Tim. And yeah, Luca, yeah, him and Alex were going back and forth, and one was doing something and put on their screenshot fastest E36, and the next one would be like the really, really fastest E36, and the other one was 10 times really, and so they were having fun with it. And then our Tim got here and got involved with it, and he comes in with a 323, garage built with an S54 motor in it, and
with a one-way 800 euro suspension.
I would say he paid 600 pounds for it, and he went out and got right in the mix right away. And I think his fastest lap was within a second of these guys, and he was on old tires in a warm-up lap, and so I think that he had a really good chance to have it as well. And so this car really started that whole thing. And so I had been talking with Alex since last fall when he was just got it wrapped and was just getting done with it for the year. And we sort of struck up a deal, and finally we closed on that this week, actually. I picked the car up last Friday, and I was pretty excited about that. And I was content with it. I was, okay, we're going to get this car. And then the problem is you come and park it next to the black one, right? Yeah. You park anything next to the black car, and the black car, if you want to talk about builds and you want to talk about track cars, you can't compare a track build to anything once you set it next to a Schirmer car. Schirmer does, there's a lot of talk online, oh, what does a Schirmer car do for you? You know what I mean? I'll just save my money and I'll build it myself.
Yeah, what's the secret behind it so I can do it myself?
The problem is not only is the geometry of the suspension something that nobody else is doing other than Schirmer right now, but the completeness of the build. When you look inside this black car, it looks factory. It looks like the factory built it. From the floor panels to the roll cage, the welds are just perfect. The way that the dash is covered in Alcantara, the way the gauges are set, everything is done with such a detail that it truly looks factory. And the car works. It works day in and day out. From the brake cooling, it has transmission coolers, it has differential coolers, it has upgraded radiators, it has every single base is covered. So it's not just, bolt that part on and that part on, and you put suspension, tires, and wheels on, and you have a Schirmer car. Yeah. It's actually every little detail, all the way down to even how they have completely changed where the front suspension mounts. Yeah. And so you put this E36 next to that, and you just say, well, okay, my standard is now not here, it's now changed again. Yeah. So put them next to each other, called up Tom Schirmer and said, hey, Tom, I think we're going to need to talk. And the next thing we did is we drove over there and started talking with him. And he'd caught wind already. He knew. He goes on Instagram and he sees a little bit of what's going on. And one day he actually called me and says, Robert, you want a full M3 collection, huh? And I knew what he was alluding to, but I said, yeah, that's what I'm after, and so he's been seeing what we want to do. So he wasn't surprised when I called him, and said, hey, let's go ahead and get together and figure out what we're going to do on it. Yeah, so we load up and we head over there, and I think we took 2 cars over. You rode with me, and then
Tom rode with his car.
Z46, and so we got over there and we got in, and the first thing there's this beautiful white E30 sitting there. Yeah, he's like biting his knuckles, Yeah, they've set it up with center lock wheels and carbon fiber dash and AIM.
Carbon fiber dash wrapped in Alcantara. So we're like, is that just like casual dash?
And it's like you just hope that nobody's looking and you can just push it out the door. You know what I mean? Because this thing is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And again, this goes back to the attention to detail. The inside of the car is as clean as the outside of the car, paintwork wise and everything like that. And the thing's just stunning. It has a sequential gearbox in it. It's just top of the line.
Hopefully we'll be able to make a video about this car somewhere next week, because Tom said he wants to finally show his shop to us, because he's very reluctant to doing this type of thing. So
yeah, we've always been able to go in and look at it, but Misha's videos have always been, okay, stay, keep a little distance, but he seems to maybe see a little interest in that, so that could be pretty cool.
Yeah. The fact, I want to just make a small reference, because you said the amount of detail also to the things that you don't actually see. All the petrol heads know obviously Pagani, and people have probably looked at like the Pagani tours, the manufacturing of Pagani, and the Evo magazine actually said, like, listen, you open the hood or the trunk, you take away parts, and you still see somewhere in the trunk like the carbon pattern weave, like,
perfect.
It's perfect.
Yep.
even at the places you don't see it,
Right.
it's still perfect. And that's the same what you can say about Tom Schirmer. He's like really like
Right.
into perfection. It's like
Yeah, he told me something. He said, you know, that when I sell a car to somebody, the last thing I want to have to do is ever have somebody come back and say, well, my mechanic said you did this and this and that wrong.
yeah.
He said, I don't want that. I want to know that what I send out is perfect, that it's done, and that nobody can say anything about it. And I think that obviously is what I want as well. You know, that's what I want to pick up a car and know that it's right, that it works, that I'm not sitting there thinking, well, maybe I should add a transmission cooler to this. It needs to just work. You know, so.
And this has been also proven multiple times because you had this car, well, the Black E92. How many laps have you done this year? 200?
Couple hundred, yeah.
Couple of hundred, and never ever anything happened to it.
Brake pads and disc, that's it.
Yeah, and it's been running before you owned it as well, and only consumables are going through it, but never like that's like engine temperature shooting through the roof.
No,
like,
in fact, I mean, there's times that I wait so long to turn on certain coolers because it's just under control.
Yeah.
You know, it really is a well-engineered car and it works. But yeah, so that's, you know, so I walked in and I saw the E30 and I was like, damn, that thing's beautiful, you know. And,
Is that a customer car? Unfortunately,
yeah,
yes.
unfortunately, yes.
But
yeah. So we start talking about, we get this E36 up on the lift and we start looking at it. When I bought it, I looked at it this way. It's a well-known car. It's a fast car. There's 0 rust on it. And to me, that's one of the biggest things on getting an E36, especially in this area, is you have no rust on the car. It's got a nice suspension. It's got the KW competition 2-way adjustable suspension. It's got a very nice CAE shifter in it. It has the seats that I want, the SPA Kevlar seats in large. It has a race clutch, a lightweight flywheel. It's got the correct transmission. You switch it to the 5-speed transmission, which is the lighter transmission. It's got the correct differential in it. Go through the car and it has the parts you want.
Yeah.
And so I could have bought a cheaper car, right, and said I'm going to start with a stock car for half the price, but it wouldn't have come with these parts.
Yeah.
And so I figured, well, I like Alex. He's a good friend of ours. He's actually doing instruction for us. I'll buy this car, and yes, I'm going to tear the whole thing down, and we're going to rebuild it. So a lot of people say, why would you do that to that car? It's rough. You know, it is a rough car. The roll cage we're going to completely cut out. We're going to go through it. But it was light and it was fast. And that's what it was built for.
And it's rust-free.
Yeah,
That's
it's rust-free.
very important in
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
car. And again, I think another important thing is that the car has history.
Yeah.
It started the battle of E36.
Exactly, it really
so this
did.
is something you can refer to.
It really did. And so for me, that was a really important part, was to have a car that was known, that I, first of all, followed and enjoyed watching. Everyone enjoyed it. He's got a comment on one of those videos that says, this is the best thing happening at the ring right now.
Yeah.
You know, and you know,
Nürburgring didn't agree with that, but everyone liked it.
Everyone had fun with it. And so one thing leads to another, and Tom knows that I want to get the whole collection, and so of course he has a couple ideas and walks me through the shop, and of course he's got an E30 sitting there that's completely stripped down, ready to be put together. He's got an E46 sitting there, completely stripped down, freshly painted, ready to be put back together. He's got all the parts ready to go, because he knew the E36 was coming. He's got all the parts ready to go for the E36. And then there's also something special working on for an M4. And so long story short is we walk out of there pretty well knowing that probably it's going to happen, that instead of just buying a couple nice M3s, that it's now going to be a Schirmer GT M3 Collection. E30, E36, E46, E92, and then an F82 M4. So left there, pondered around for a couple days. Do I paint one blue, one red, one yellow, one black, you know, and have a variety of colors? Or do I say, you know what, I just want to make something really uniform so that you know, okay, this belongs to this collection, and go just like the black car here with black and gold. And I'd say Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I really was thinking about it constantly. What do I want to do? And Tom came over here to Apex this morning. We sat down to kind of finalize some details, and I said, okay, I want everything black. So I made the decision, everything black with gold BBS wheels, the same E88s. So all 5 of the cars are going to have the same wheel. The only one that actually might have a different wheel is the E36, because it's going to be on a 17.
Okay.
And the reason that car is going to stay on a 17 is because I have a plan for it.
Okay.
And the plan is that car is going to get built, It's going to be built right, and it's going to go see how fast it can be.
Okay.
And might have to be on a track day, but
Yeah.
TF doesn't allow lap timing anymore. But I've already spoken with our Tim. He's obviously a perfect candidate to drive it, and me and Moran have been in talks as well. He wants to get behind the wheel. So we have two guys that are very quick to want to go out and see what this thing can do, and it needs to be on a 17 to get the Durezza tire, to fit and to work properly. So this is going to be the only car that it'll still be on BBS, on gold BBS, but it's going to be this style, but there's one that's still lighter yet.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the lighter version of it.
Okay.
So to me, that's adding to, the history of it is taking a car that Alex put together or bought and then did some things to, and taking it to the next level. And then seeing what this thing really is capable of. And that's something I'm really, really excited about. I'm under no illusion that I'll drive it and be that fast, I'm perfectly happy with a nice quick lap, but I don't need to go out and try and set any records. But if these younger guys want to go out and go knock their lights out, then I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And the amazing thing about it is when we were with Tom talking about the build is that he said that we're going to be allowed to film some parts of the build. So that's something you can...
Yeah, he was very open to that. Basically what we're going to do is in a week from tomorrow, Tim's going to take it over, and he's going to actually start cutting out the cage. We're going to strip the car down to its chassis. It's going to go all the way down to just being a shell. And that's going to be Tim's first couple days of work back. He's on vacation right now. When he comes back, he's going to strip the car down, get it to a shell, and that's something that Misha's going to be able to go video, and Tom's going to be able to take some pictures of and videos of, and watch the evolution of this car.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, should we maybe cut this white BMW in half, since I don't think we'll ever get time to finish that and make a bench out of it. I don't know. I mean, that could be an option,
Poor car, huh? But yeah, so I think it's going to be a collection I'm very excited about. I'm really, really excited to have those 5 cars from the E30 up to the M4, all as a Shermer GT, and we're going to do certain things that are taking it a step further. That's going to be pretty cool. Every car is going to have transmission coolers, diff coolers. In the E30, we were able to source a transmission that actually has a longer first gear. See, the E30 has a different gear pattern. Yeah. And then you can work second, third, fourth, fifth, all in the H. Yeah. And then first gear is down low.
So it's like a dock L. Yeah.
So what happens is we have a first gear that's very long. And it gets you right out of first gear to now you're working 2, 3 a lot, and so that's the idea. So we're doing things like that to the cars to make them really fun for the Nordschleife, and then something that I'm really excited about is we're going to take back the E92, and that's going to go back, and we're going to put actually a Bosch display in every car. So we're going to take out the original gauge clusters, and we're going to actually build in a Bosch display in each car, so we won't have the traditional display. We won't have the tach and the speedometer. We're actually going to have a real state-of-the-art display in all 5 cars. So I think that's really, really something I'm excited about. Just because I want this to be when you walk in, they're a set, that they belong together. And when every car is going to have the same seats, the same wheels, the same paint, the same, they're going to be a matching set. And that's something that really gives me some joy to see as it evolves. I'm really, really excited to see them all sitting here in this barn, lined up, and
we might need a bigger barn. Just saying.
I made some plans for that today, so.
Okay, that's good. Stay tuned to find out. Huh?
Tom's gonna get a big hammer out and bust a hole out back. So.
Cool. Now you said E30 and E46 gonna be built from ground up.
The E30 and the E46 will be built from the ground up, yeah.
The E46, is it going to be a manual or the SMG?
It's SMG.
And everyone's going to be like, no, why? SMG is the worst transmission ever, but
this is something cool that I spoke with Shermer about, and he's actually really excited, is they have a different transmission, and they have some really cool programming for it that he says it's bulletproof. He says it's absolutely bulletproof, and it's amazing. Yeah. So that's something I'm willing to give a try. And see, he's going to sell something that needs to work, and he says that with what they do to it, it is absolutely an amazing setup, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah,
looking forward to that. You mentioned something about the M4 as well. You want to talk about that, or you want to keep
we'll keep that a little surprise for later. Yeah, it's going to be what we're doing with the M4 is going to be pretty cool.
It's going to be something very special, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, some people may say that the E21 may be like the actual
Right.
first
Yeah,
3 series.
yeah.
There was not really an M series. Would you be thinking about building something around that?
I don't know. I might. I think they're beautiful cars, absolutely beautiful cars. So I won't rule it out. But at the moment, I don't have any plans for that.
Yeah.
So I won't say no. Just like 14 months ago, I didn't own one BMW. So so I would never say no. But at the moment, I don't have a plan for that. Right now, I think that I'm very excited about this M series, the M3 series, and more than anything, I just want to get them in the garage and start doing a couple laps with them. The E36 is supposed to be done end of April, the E46 2 months later, the M4 2 months later, and then the E30 sometime before the end of the year.
Yeah.
So Shermer's going to be busy with this project as well, putting all these cars together.
You're gonna have a lot of content regarding.
I think so. I think it's going to actually be pretty neat, like maybe a weekly update on what's going on with the cars. But going to older models or different models, I want to stay away from that right now. I've always been the type that I don't want to have too many cars. I'm not a collector. And that's the other thing that interests me about this M3 series is that they're all cars that I can drive on the Nordschleife. They're all cars that I will drive. I see the E30 as being probably one of the cars I'm most excited about, to be honest. It's going to be the car that I want to go out, take Tiffany out. We're going to go have a fun drive. Nothing crazy. Just go out and just enjoy the car. Drive it at 70% and just go have fun. And that's something I'm really excited about. Then the E36 is the car that I want to be all out. How fast can we make it? Lightweight. Building custom floor pans for it and things like that just to make it, to make it go. Then the E46 I think is going to be this classic, really beautiful car. The same thing is going to have a similar engine note to the E36, but it's going to, be a little bit more modern. And then you go to the E92, which you don't even need to explain how great that car is. If you just want to go fast, get in that. And then you're going to have the M4, which is just going to be stupid.
It's gonna be stupid fast. Because just a reminder, we went to Tom Schimmer like 3-4 months ago when there was VLN5, and the car, I believe it ended up 15th place overall.
That was their M2.
That was the M2.
That was the M2.
So M4 could go like even faster.
The M4 is quicker. Like their M4 is, custom fenders, carbon fiber, wide body, the whole bit, custom front bumper with air intakes. Is pretty special car. Yeah. But definitely have high expectations for the M4 when it comes in summer. That's going to be really special. But yeah, so I think that what's neat about it, and this is going back to why wouldn't I not commit now to getting an E21, is because these cars, I can justify how I'm going to use them. I know what the purpose of each car is. If I get an E21, I might say, well, this is going to be the car that I tool around the Nürburgring with. Maybe we take it down to odd now. And you know what? Maybe that will happen. Because right now, none of these cars are going to have back seats, so the kids can't go with us. So possibly, maybe it will happen. But like I said, I'm not a car collector. This is one reason why, like with the McLarens and the Ferrari, if I'm done with it, I sell it. I don't have a need to have it sitting around. I've considered selling the Speciale, and everyone says, don't sell the Speciale. It's the last naturally aspirated, mid-engine, Ferrari V8, blah, blah, blah. But if I'm not using it, I don't want it. And that's really the bottom line. And so I've considered selling it. At the moment, it's not for sale, but I've considered it. The blue LT, I definitely will sell. There's just no use for me with it right now. We have the orange one, so the blue LT's just got to go. It's not doing anything. It's the prettiest car I own, hands down the most beautiful car I have. But it's right now doesn't have a place for me.
Yeah, you can hang it on the wall, but
I thought about it right there up above the black car. Just stick it to the wall. It'd be great, But or turntable in the living room. But but so with that being said, if I didn't have the orange car and I didn't do so much track driving, then I would be okay keeping it because it would be the car that I would do running around in and enjoy on a Sunday. But on Sunday I want to go on the racetrack, and I have the LT for that. Right, and so I don't see any point in taking the most beautiful car that I have and hammering it on the racetrack when I have something that's actually suited a little bit better for it in the coupe.
Because I think you actually never took the inside of the carousel with that car.
No, I did.
You did.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever not taken the inside of the carousel.
Yeah.
No, I did take it, but the thing is in the LT, if you take it slower, it doesn't hit.
Okay.
It's when you take it at speed.
Yeah.
So I've taken it slow, but I've never taken it at speed.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've never scraped the bottom of it. If you look at the bottom of the orange car, it's like it went through a war. But the bottom of the blue car is still perfect. But and I think that's the reason is I don't want to destroy that car because it is so pretty. And if I want to go fast, I'll go get in the coupe, which has the roof scoop, which gives you the emotion. It has the harnesses. It's got, it's got everything in it. So just a different setup.
Yeah. When you said that you kind of confirmed the M3 collection, I asked Tiffany, your wife, so what do you think of it? And she said like, yeah, one day I dreamt about having all the Mazda RX-7s. Would you like to comment on that? Will the JDM fans will ever see the collection of every RX-7 out there?
I don't think so. She said she dreamt of it one day. Now, if I have to be fair, if I'm sitting here buying, every M3 and building every M3, and I think that arguably, and it's nothing about ego or anything, it's just simply about what it's going to be, is that this will be the ultimate M3 collection, in my opinion, for what I'm into, which is the racetrack. This is going to be the ultimate M3 collection. All Schirmer GTs built for the Nordschleife. That's going to be pretty special to me. But if my wife came to me and said, you know what, this is what I want, then I guess we would get started. If she said I want it, who am I to say no when you're talking about all this other stuff, right? But we look every week it comes up at some point. Oh, what car do you want? Because she does go out on the track. She went out in the Polo and on her own last year for the first time solo, and she really enjoyed that. And so we talk about it all the time. But she's very particular. She knows what she doesn't like, and so it's really hard to find a good, reliable, safe car that she likes. Yeah. So we've been having a hard time finding her car. Like I said, the balance between safety and modern and something she likes has been difficult. We have a little chat group for Apex, and we kind of have a little joke in there that Tiffany actually sent out links to cars that she was interested in. It went from RX-7 to an AMG GTR. And she was cross shopping them. She's like, well, on one hand the AMG GTR has this, and on the other hand the RX-7 has that. And I think
cannot argue with that.
And we ended up in a stalemate between the two. It was like, well, I don't know which one's better. So
tell us in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. If you had to take one, would it be an AMG GTR or would it be an RX-7? Maybe you can help Tiffany decide which way she'll go. But no, so definitely, I don't have any problem with the RX-7. My biggest thing is safety on the track, and that's another reason we spoke about why I wanted Alex's car. The biggest safety feature of Alex's car we're going to cut out next week, which is the cage, and we're going to put a new one in. But so if we were to get her, if we were to get her something more modern like a BMW, then I would be okay with her going out without a cage. But if we were to get her an older car, I'd have to have like just a whole armor shell, before I felt comfortable with it, because an old RX-7 or even Tim's 323 M3, I told him, dude, you're crazy. Yeah. That thing's like a tin can. It's like driving an old Formula One car. So I want to make sure that whatever we go out in is as safe as possible. So
I think it's a very good point. Yeah, I guess this pretty much summarizes it. Half an hour talk about the M3s. So again, stay tuned to find out more about the build process. Make sure to subscribe. By the way, I'm going to announce it in one of the upcoming videos, because we're going to Tom Schirmer to make a look around this workshop, talk about the cars that we're going to build. He's actually looking for like 2 pair of hands, extra helping hands. So if you are from Germany, or even from, I don't know, UK or whatever, you want to move to the Nürburgring, work something and work at the, I'm not going to lie, world's best track prepped BMWs. And he said he just needs helping hands. You don't need to have engineering master certificate, as long as you know that you can tighten up, loosen up things, and you have a common sense.
You need to be detail oriented, have common sense, and you need to be the type of guy that when you put a wheel on, you maybe don't take an impact gun to it. You need to realize that there are certain situations where a ratchet is a little bit better. Doing something by hand is the way to go. And I think those are the main things that he wants: someone that can work clean, efficiently, and build the cars without destroying them.
Yeah, so this is something you can reach out to him now, or yeah, wait for next video to know why he builds best BMWs. But I think the proof of that is already behind us. Now, I think this summarizes your part on future cars. For me, yeah, my future car, we already announced it earlier that I was settled on the i30N. I want to thank my friend Mark for giving us a very good offer on the i30. This is something we need to do actually probably maybe next week to go look at it, because last week, initially it was a plan last week, but then suddenly I got invited from DJI to go fly their new drone. So like I went there, you were not here. So this is something we might do next year, but there is something in between that we might save for next time. Yeah. So this may cancel it, but for the benefit of, well, for the benefit.
Yeah, if everything goes a certain way and you don't get the i30, then I think we'll all be happy about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this, yeah, we're being secretive. I'm sorry, we're not sharing all the secrets, but you will find out more, hopefully, maybe even next week.
Yeah, possibly.
We will see about that. Yeah, I guess we still managed to do 1 hour long video, and I think it's been a pretty cool one. We managed to keep it within one certain topic, talking for 1 hour about our old cars and previous cars, because last time, although I really enjoyed all the topics that we were covering, but we had like the main headline would be like last time, like how to prepare your track car. And before that, for half an hour, we would talk about all the like random things about lap timings and around Nürburgring, about this, that, and it's all fine. But yeah, I think this is a very cool topic for people who want to know more about us and our future plans. So I think it turned out pretty nicely. So to summarize, again, stay tuned for the upcoming builds of the next cars. Most importantly, for next week, we have no idea what to talk about.
Yeah, give us some ideas.
Yeah, give us some ideas. Ask us. It's okay to ask personal things about plans. I mean, we can always ignore your comment or just say, okay, well, sorry, we're just like not going to talk about that. But most of all, yeah, let us know what you want to hear. And if you want us to go more into detail, don't ask us more about details about the upcoming M3s, because this is what we're going to cover anyway.
I think that we're going to talk about those, those cars in a little bit more detail, but really ask what you want, and if it works, it works. If it fits in with the program, we'll fit it in. I think we want this program to be about what is going to be interesting to the people watching it.
And listening.
And listening to it. So really, if you do want to hear more about the upcoming M3s, well, ask us about it. And if we can fit it in, we'll answer the question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, if 40% of the people say they want to know more about the E30 build, well, then obviously we'll talk more about the E30 build. But I think, like Misha said, we've got some really cool programs coming up about those builds specifically. And I'm hoping that next week when Misha goes in, he can get possibly some shots of the cars that we're going to use as our base cars, because they are already there, and show those cars so that you guys can see what are we starting with. Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, I hope you enjoyed today's summit. Again, make sure to check out Spotify and iTunes links for the podcast format. And looking forward to see you next week. Bye-bye. Have a good one.